Welcome, everybody, to a holiday edition of Personal Flash Paper. I am your host, Randy Glenn, and with me today is Max.
Hey, everybody.
And the third chair for the day, Rob Baker.
Dice are fickle bitches, baby.
And, of course, coming in the fourth chair, the person that logged on late, as usual, Ryan Moore.
I was 5 minutes early, so technically I was not late. I might have been the last one, but I was not late.
If you're not 15 minutes prior, you're late.
yeah, that's true.
If you're not first, you're last, Ryan.
Yeah. So Max is first then.
Max was actually first on the thing, so
I am the Ricky Bobby of this podcast.
The Ricky Bobby of this podcast.
I would like to say one thing about this. You know,
Okay.
you all give me a lot. Yeah, it may be long, but you all give me a lot of gruff and harass me about this. But I would like to point out in episode 79 on the RPG, The Rise of Aleph, an episode I was not on. However, I was still brought up, so I'm just gonna put it out there. I know that I am really seated so deeply in your hearts that you can't have an episode without at least talking about me. So
Ryan, I try and
just
love
gonna
and
say
respect
that.
you.
I try to love and respect you.
I would also like to point out that I literally had just finished that episode, because I was running my errands and that part came along. I'm like, oh, I'm bringing this up today.
That's funny. So on this episode of our holiday edition, we've combined the RPG and the regular podcast today. We're going to be doing our Christmas wish list. Christmas wish list. God, if you say that really fast, it just does. It comes out like really bad. We will be talking about random odds and ends, and we have a raffle, and I will let Rob talk about that at the end of the podcast, but not before. You must listen to the whole thing, or you must fast forward through the entire episode, which gives us a listen anyway, and our stats go up, and I'm okay with that. We go from 2 to 3 listens every week, and it's enjoyable. So to get it started off, guys, what do you hope Santa or whatever you practice, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever, brings you for this holiday season, infinity-wise?
I can pick anything.
Well, infinity related, but
infinity related. But just the sky's the limit, man. I need even better steel phalanx. I need to have like 4 to 5 models tops on the tabletop. Each of them generates 5 to 6 orders on their own. Just blazing everybody down in a hail of gunfire and mono blades. And
so you essentially want to field an army of Achilles,
right? Yeah, even better. Yeah. I want Achilles to really be Achilles.
You want him to be AVA total.
Yeah. I need you have to shoot him with a -12 to hit his, right Achilles tendon to kill him. That's what I want.
He can only be hit by a sniper, and that's only if they get in his rear arc.
Yeah, right. Realistically, though, I would like to see more Greek hero themed characters for that army. I know it's a ways off, but that would be pretty awesome.
Which Greek hero would you like to see next?
I'd like to find. I like them to dig through the fluff and find a way to bring back Odysseus.
Okay.
I think Theseus could be pretty cool as an option.
So Max, would you want to see him break from the Iliad sort of background and go into Greek mythology?
I mean, they really have. There's stuff there that isn't really, truly the Iliad Odyssey stuff. So, and even then, there's still more stuff to mine there. Yeah. You could easily have, somehow create Paris, things like that. So,
well, you could have Helen of Troy,
right?
You could do some sort of Odalisque, Primarch.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. High level Eichel or whatever it is now, in N4 and that kind of thing. More Amazons to go with Penthesilea would be pretty awesome.
And Hippolyta, yeah.
Yep. And
Especially with Wonder Woman 84 coming out.
Yeah.
You've got a, prime season to really start dropping some Amazon warriors on people.
Yeah, which would be pretty awesome.
Dropping some Amazon warriors on people. The military's new defense.
Right. Hey, it would work, man. I have no doubt there. And then, maybe for all the other Aleph players out there, a new Marut sculpt that is so much easier to assemble.
Shit. Oh, the level of frustration for that Marut. Ugh.
Man, they're putting those legs together. Jeez.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll cut it
this
off
episode
there.
is already laden with that's what she said. I'm just putting it out there. There's been so many so far.
Happy holidays.
This episode brought to you by Aleph.
Oh wow, Rob Baker, what are you hoping for?
In terms of models, I too would like to see some new sculpts for Aleph, for Cosmoflot. I'd like to see some things that have been retired, so to speak, from the model line, like the Azrael Special Deterrence Group. See the new sculpts that come out for that, the new Hakislam tag. I'd like to see that. I'm pretty stoked to see a lot of new models as I'm burning through my backlog, and so. Yeah, I think that sums it up. I just want to see new models and have time to actually paint them.
Understandable.
Yeah, because I'm literally looking around the nerd layer and I've got 60 plus models primed right now. So yeah, more models.
Man,
bring me more models.
I feel like you've been blowing through lead this year, Rob. Like you've painted a lot of stuff and it looks great.
Oh, thanks, buddy. Thanks. Yeah, I just knocked out the 2 alpha seeds, so those are getting ready to come to a table someday.
Yeah. Eventually.
And what about you, Ryan? What is Santa going to bring you in your little stockings?
Well, I think, model wise, there's a bunch of cool stuff that's out now that I don't have. But I think if I was like wish listing for CB, I'd like to see the Bureau Noir sectorial for 012 just to see how they do that. That idea sounds kind of cool to me. I think it'd be very interesting. You could really make that sectorial like function entirely different than any other sectorial, right? Because it's about a whole bunch of different stuff. They don't necessarily go out and do all combat. So I think you could do some really cool new things with the sectorial that they haven't done yet.
What about you, Randy?
Oh, what about me? All I want is to be able to have an actual game in person with somebody. Just one game, just anything at all in person, which would be epic. I would definitely take that. Just gonna say it. That's all I want.
It's coming, man.
It is coming. It is, in fact, it's just one of those things that I would just definitely like to get over, to get done and over with. Other than that, nothing. This just sucks, man. I'm sick of being at home.
Yeah, and it really shows, the things that we took for granted. And I'm just going to say it. I took you guys and being able to see Ryan. I work with him, for Pete's sake. And the only time that I really see his, bright, shining, smiling face is on a Zoom call. And Ryan, I'm going to be honest. On that Zoom call, I'm looking over your shoulder at your paint table, and I'm seeing what you're working on. Just saying.
Well, then you're not seeing much because it's just cluttered with stuff right now. It has been like that for a little while.
That's his point.
Yeah,
exactly.
But I mean, there was one meeting I had the 3D printer going, and I'm like, oh, I cannot be off mute during this meeting.
I cannot have the 3D printer going off for this meeting. We must slow it down.
Yeah, and I think that, truth be told, we are all 4 of us are very social creatures, and playing games has been the way that we identify not only, to other people, but to ourselves. And, not being able to game in person has been a huge, huge detriment.
Yeah, like even if you couldn't play, just being able to go up to your local game store and like hang out on a game night and watch two other people have a game and talk and comment on the game, and it's there's been a lot of ingenuity on how to get things continued playing during this, but that social thing is really missing. It sucks.
Yeah, it totally sucks. I saw something on WGC this morning that was like, hey, tell us about your best army list that you've, really been able to have success with in person or on the tabletop simulator. And it made me think, I was like, wow, I'm not a big tabletop simulator guy. It doesn't scratch that same itch that actual models and moving and, things that we've talked about on the cast before. But it did speak to me in terms of, a lot of people, I think, are going through this social distancing withdrawal. And that part spoke to me. And so, that's one of the things, Randy, I totally agree with you. I too want this social distancing pandemic thing to, run its course.
Yeah, it will. So you brought up the tabletop simulator in the best list. It's kind of a weird thing for me to think that, and the reason I don't do a lot of tabletop simulating is I find that I don't know how many of those lists from Tabletop Simulator are going to make their way over to the actual tabletop.
Why do you say that?
Well, because here's my thing, and I've seen other gaming systems use Tabletop Simulator, and guys have gone crazy, like the 40Kers, the Age of Sigmar guys, and they make these lists, right? The most optimal list you can. Those lists are generally usually expensive. Even in Infinity, they would start becoming pretty expensive, right? And when you have a tabletop simulator, it doesn't cost you anything to make a new model. This is the model. This is the model. But you take it to the tabletop, and we've talked. I think every podcast will probably say this at one time or the other. If you play any competitive game, once you bring a list to a group of guys a couple of times and steamroll them, there's going to be a couple of guys that are going to go, how the hell do you stop that? And they're going to put their heads together and they're going to go, this is how you stop it. And they're going to retool their lists and their strategy and stop it. And now you've dumped a ton of money into something that was supposed to wreck face, and it doesn't anymore. And now you have to keep reconfiguring. That gets pricey after a while. I mean, like, you're constantly playing back and forth at somebody. So I don't know. I think this is it's apples to oranges. A tabletop simulator list versus regular tabletop tournament list. And when you play tabletop gaming, especially at a tournament, how often is a tournament going to be? Once every couple of months, where you're really going to bust that list out?
I can see that.
Ryan disagrees with me. I know he does.
Well, he's probably thinking.
I mean, I tuned you out about 3-4 words into your speed.
Perfect. So. I love it. I love the absolute no respect. No.
We got to have Ryan on the. We got to have Ryan on the RPG podcast more, man. I'm loving him.
Yeah, I know, right? Just tuning everything out.
Max, I actually told Randy I had an idea for an RPG. So, because typically I'm driving when I'm listening to you guys talk, and so I kind of start thinking in my head without having the rule book there to lay out a character. But I got this idea of running kind of almost like a detective gunslinger guy who's pseudo paranoid, but he'd be like film noir, and his Geist will be the voice, and that's what makes him paranoid. His Geist is because he'd walk in and be like, oh, she looked hot, but was she? So it would the Geist would be the voice that's giving the voiceovers to film noir that's making him pseudo paranoid. So, I just think it would be funny.
So we had Rob on last week. We recorded him making an Aleph character, because we're going through the Aleph book now. So when we do the Pan-O one, you should come on and do a Pan-O character.
I mean, I can
totally do
that. Yep.
Be part of the team, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine. I'm okay with that. So back to what Randy was questioning. Tabletop Simulator just doesn't. I don't know. It just doesn't hold the same weight for me, and I don't think my computer would run it real effectively. It's a little glitchy now. It's just getting old, and there's no need for me to really replace it. So, but I mean, I think what it has shown is that there is such a need for this type of outlet that people will, bend over backwards to, they put 3D modeling in there. They do all of this stuff so that people can still play, and it's still, the community is still driving. And, I don't know if it's thriving or not. I don't know what CB's sales are. I know our local store, Tabletop Game and Hobby, has a huge selection now. I was in there a couple days ago, and they've got quite a bit of stuff. So that's actually really cool, because it means that this is not something that's dying off, because a lot of other things are dying off right now. So.
Yeah, and CB also just, well, at least here in the U.S., the first wave of Defiance has, dropped on people's doorsteps and porch steps, and that's been exciting to see the resurgence of interest.
Yeah. Yep. So I know Rob and I backed it. Randy or Max, did you guys do Defiance at all?
I did not.
I did not. I just decided, like, at the time of the Kickstarter, we're looking at buying a house, and there kept being more and more stuff to add on that it was cost prohibitive. And ultimately, I was kind of put off by the fact that this is the release. It's not going to keep being made and be in stores and stuff. And I'm kind of like, I don't know if I want to invest all this in a game that isn't going to continue to see support in some form from them. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I think that was one of the things that Rob and I had, and our other friend John, who works with us, we had all discussed. And John actually was going to back it, and I think he ended up dropping it, because we were also like, well, Rob and I are going to have copies of it. So do we need a bunch of copies of it? And that's the same thing. I was like, I don't understand why you would not keep supporting this, why you wouldn't. And who knows, they may change their mind. I mean, that's possible. But
yeah.
So my question then would be to Rob. So you held off for the second wave of shipping, so you got everything all at once, right? Yep. As did I. So are you having any shipping remorse now that it's coming out?
No, I'm not having any shipping remorse. And the reason I'm not having shipping remorse at this point in time is because if I would have gotten Defiance Wave 1, I probably would have wanted to put it all together and start painting it, as opposed to working through the 50-60 models that I've currently got in my paint queue. So I'm really happy that I held off and stuck to my guns on the Wave 2 aspect. The other aspect of being happy with the Wave 2 is it appears that there are some bugs in the system, and I hope that those are isolated incidents, but by the time Wave 2 ships, those bugs will be worked out of the system. What about you?
Well, so I'm in a mix, right? Because I was like, I don't have anyone to play it with right now anyways, so whatever. Sure. But then I was also, the other side is like, but I could get it all put together and painted so when we do play it, we have it, and maybe that will kick my painting mojo flow back up. But then the other side of me is also like, I don't need to play this game with anybody else. You can play this game solo. Yeah. So I could sit at the dining room table in the evening and watch my family look at me weird as I'm rolling and dice and moving miniatures around. I mean,
that's how they show love.
It wouldn't be the first time. But.
I mean, listen, solo play is fun and everything, but I just find having a partner is just, for almost everything better.
Yep.
Yeah.
I went there. That's right. I went there with that. I even did that like with an undertone. So if your kid's in the car and you're laughing right now, and you have your kid in your car, they're gonna be like, "Why is Daddy laughing?" Because and I know what the joke was. There you go.
Kids, I'm about to graphically explain to you what Randy was really saying here, okay?
Earmuffs.
Like, I totally agree. Like, games like that are more fun, cooperative. Like you could play Gloomhaven by yourself, but I would rather have 4 people playing total, and there's just another layer to the game. But it is nice that it is something, you don't have to have somebody if you just want to bust it out and play. Or that to go along with that, no one has to be the GM in essence. Like the game runs itself. No one had Imperial Assault. Someone had to play the Imperials, and so it became the party versus this one person, and there isn't any of that with Defiance, which is nice. I appreciate a true cooperative game.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what's cool about it. But to me, I think it was just probably something that I could do that was Infinity related. That I was actually rolling dice. Was it the Lord of the Rings did the card game, not the collectible one, but the deck building one, and you could solo play that. And I did that a couple times. But again, like kind of what Max was saying is, do it a handful of times, and then you're kind of like, oh, I wish somebody was here to laugh and make these jokes with me. It's not the same.
Or have that fear of what the next card flip is going to be, because all four of us have played Pandemic, and it has a very similar, at least I think it does, has a similar AI mechanic.
Yeah.
And when you're getting ready to flip that card of after a pandemic has already broken out and the cities have reseeded themselves, sort of so to speak, that when you flip that card, you're looking at a potential outbreak, and the enjoyment of that game pre-pandemic was, oh my god, where's the next outbreak going to be? Where's the zombies going to spring up from? And I think that's the same thing with Defiance and most solo play games.
Yep. I will say that I do wish they had one way that somebody could play the combined army. Like, for example, my favorite zombie game is one called Last Night on Earth, which it's typically the best played at 5 people. You have 4 people playing heroes and 1 person playing the zombies. So it's 4-on-1 really. And that game is such a blast. But so I wish that they did have a way that you could play, or one person could be the bad guy if your group was big enough, or you just needed some variety.
Getting back to backing it or not, I almost damn near backed it. Sorry for the language, kids. Just for
FY, it'll get worse. The language.
I know. We're not even drinking, unless Rob's having morning beers. But like, I almost backed it just for all the Shasvasti miniatures. Like, just get the core box. Like, you've got a ton of great stuff there.
Yeah, I actually got an extra 4 of the Nox Troopers.
Nice.
So yeah, I saw that. I was like, I'm getting that.
Yeah, that is a faction that really super interests me, because I think it's just so different than what I picked as my starter faction in Steel Phalanx and Aleph.
Yeah, see, and it didn't when I was doing Combined Army. That was the one that I was like, I just ignored it, right? But I think, because now with all the stuff, I think a good portion of that was influenced by the models, that I just wasn't attracted to the Shasvasti models.
Oh,
but
let's be honest, that old stuff was bad.
Yeah, but so the new stuff, I'm kind of like, yeah, that's pretty cool. I figure out how to work that in there. So I think that has helped.
Have you guys seen Corey's painted Shasvasti stuff that he's knocking out? That stuff is beautiful.
Yeah, it looks really good.
Because I agree that when I first started looking at models for the Corvus Belli Infinity line, I was not impressed with the Shasvasti. But now the stuff that they have come out with this redo and Defiance and all the other stuff, oh yeah, I can't wait to start putting that stuff together.
I will say that they could have used it to make it more alien. I mean, you could have done 6-limbed things. You could have done a little more alien stuff that I think would have made it push it over the top,
like more insect-like.
Yeah,
I feel like they should be the bugs from Mimic.
Yeah. Instead of like armor, like metal armor plate, it's carapace looking, stacks of.
Yeah, because like when I think about like the Speculo Killer and like it's masking as a person, I think about the way that fake face for the bugs in Mimic would like split apart and flip, and I feel like that's like what a Speculo Killer revealing itself would do, because they always have that line on the face in the art now.
Yep. Nope. I think you are right on how that could have been. Now I'm gonna have to watch Mimic again, because that's a sweet movie too.
Guillermo del Toro classic.
Yeah.
Yep. Although the science in it is kind of not.
I was a scientist for a month, and I'm fine with it. So settle down.
Let's be honest, Bob. The science in most stuff is bad, just like the medicine in most stuff is bad.
Yeah. You're right.
You right. You right. Do you think, boy? So I don't know if you guys know this, but Rob and Ryan, you guys are the villains in our upcoming campaign.
Sweet.
So that means the players have to kill you guys.
Sweet. Bring it.
Yeah, here's the problem though that Max and I are having making characters. Like Rob, you're a scientist, so it's easy. You're gonna not be able to fight at all and just get pummeled. But
Oh, yeah.
I have no idea what the fuck Ryan even is. Like he's not a scientist. He's not. I mean, like I can't put an artist and like graphic designer in this campaign. So I have to try to like spruce up Ryan a little.
It's a role playing game, man. Ryan can be whatever he wants to be.
Well,
yeah, isn't role playing about being someone you're not normally? Isn't
Yeah,
the entire thing about role playing.
Yeah, but the thing is
let's make Ryan a badass. Let's
give
him like big muscles and stuff.
Oh my god, I love it. So it's basically opposite. We could do. I mean, we could do both for Rob and Ryan. That would be interesting, right?
It would be.
Well, I mean, Rob is a badass. Let's be honest here.
Yeah, Rob is. Rob's the badass. True. Ryan is a badass in different ways. But I just wanted you guys to know that the people are going to be trying to defeat you. So I guess we will have to do it something differently, Max, because now that I said that, people when they meet the scientists are going to know that they're the bad guy unless I make lots of scientists.
Hey, I got to take a phone call from work real quick. Keep talking.
Okay. Oh.
So here's my question for you on that, Randy. So you could do like, are we gonna be the final boss Street Fighter type bad guy, or the James Bond supervillain pulling the strings type of bad guys? Because that's how you could make different characters that.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. So the campaign that we're going to be doing over the course of the 6 weeks, I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag, but this is going to be more of a horror flick campaign. But that is a good question on what kind of villains you guys are going to be. I would say that one of you is going to be kind of pulling the strings, and one of you will be more of a actual, like I'm not gonna say final boss, more like the guy you fight to get to the boss.
Oh well, that's easy then. Rob's that guy, and I'm the final boss.
Keep dreaming.
Unless, of course, I have one more villain, and it's like me or Max, and you guys are both just the henchmen, and they have to beat us.
No, that sounds dumb.
That sounds much more better now. Now that I say that, I gotta write another character up.
Much more better.
Yeah, we're still working on the scripts for it, and it'll be starting in. Oh my God, we're like less than a month out.
Yeah.
So I have to put these things out soon, because I believe I said the date was going to be January. Let me look at my calendar. 2021, which might be better. I think we're starting January 16th. We'll be rolling up characters, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Wow, that's coming up.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be before you know it.
Or if you want to be the dad joke, oh man, that's next year. You got plenty of time.
Oh man, the dad joke. Perfect.
Plenty of time.
Yeah, because I mean that's what I did to my daughter and my wife today. I'm like, hey man, this is the last day of school this year. Oh, you got a whole year off.
I'm surprised they don't pummel you at every waking moment.
Well, let's just face it. This year for teachers has not been great. So my wife is pretty beat down every day she comes home anyway, so she doesn't have the energy anymore to fight me. She's accepted her fate for the year. She's written it off already.
Looking on to a brighter horizon.
Yep.
Very nice.
So, I have a question then. How many players are you putting in there, Randy?
So here's what we've decided to do, Max and I, and we're going to run this as a kind of a dual GM thing. I'm going to run the story. Max is going to run the combat side of it, and we will be doing 4 players, maybe 5, but in all honesty, we'd like 4. We've set the time to be the 16th. We're going to run every game at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. We're also going to do this as a recording, and everybody will be given a Discord channel, each player, that they can talk to their Geist, and their Geist can talk to them in the game. And if we get more than 4 or 5 people, what we're going to have is I'm going to be taking people to play characters in the game itself. So let's say I get interest from 7 or 8 people, then I will actually have people come on, and if somebody can't make a session, you're a stand-in character ready to rock and roll with that. Yeah, and we're going to I was going to try to get you guys to come on the finale when they get to their bosses, and let you guys play them.
So the people that are going to be coming on as fill-ins, they're not like NPCs. That are going to be taking over for a game or two. It's just like if one of the players can't come in, you're going to be this fill-in. Is that what I'm thinking?
Right? So like let's say I mean, life happens, and so we're going to run every other week. So we're going to start on the 16th, and then 14 days after that. And let's say we get to the second campaign and you can't play. You can't get into the game. Life happens, and
sorry about that, guys.
No problem. No harm, no foul. You can't get to the game, and let's say we had 8 people sign up and we're only running 4. Well, if the other people, we're going to have them jump on the 16th, have them write up characters, and so on and so forth. If at some point somebody can't make it, we'll go down the list and be like, hey, can you step in into the game itself, which is fine. They can come to every gaming session. They just won't be really doing anything. They'll just kind of be hanging around. Now, if you decide to show up to the game, there is a possibility that, like, say like, for instance, Ryan, you decide I want to play in, and you're the 5th person that signs up. Well, what we're going to do is I'd be like, hey, well, Ryan shows up to every episode or every game, and the other 4 players are always showing up. Why don't you run the NPCs today? Like, and help us out in the game itself, and I'll hand you the script for the game or whatever we're supposed to do, or read some lines of things that are happening in the game itself, and that way you get to play and participate in the game.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, and it was funny because as I think through the stuff with, like, this game being sci-fi futuristic, right, and having the technology we have, I mean, you really could have even, and I'm sure that you and Max have probably talked about this too, but you could even have like somebody who's playing not the Geist, but the information center, right? The marionette, right? And so they could be feeding information to people. That's literally somebody who's not playing. They just could send them out like throughout the week. They're like, I'm going to just ping this person a message or whatever.
Right. So we'll be recording all of the episodes and sending them to Rob to be edited, and we'll be posting them for the RPG, the RPG podcast once they go off. The other thing that we're going to be doing with the RPG is Max and I decided, like, we're only using the core rule book. We're not doing anything fancy outside of that. I don't think we're going to allow Aleph characters into this, just because we don't want to go there right now. If you roll it up, then, I mean, it is what it is, but we're not going to allow somebody to spend a point to go, hey, I want an Aleph character. I guess even if we do that, you're not going to be able to use the Aleph supplementary book. We're trying to stay within one book so that people that can play, because the PDFs were hard for people to get if they didn't back it or if they haven't found it. But you can find a core rule book still to this day. You can get the player's guide.
I mean, all the supplement books are out there too. I mean, it's coming from the UK, which earlier in the pandemic stuff was hard to get, and now I got a feeling for the next few months shipping in or out of the UK is going to be virtually non-existent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I also think it makes sense. I mean, this is the first time you're doing it this way. This is the first one you guys are launching. So, I mean, don't throw every rule in there. I mean, that would be like trying to play D&D, but like, hey, we're using every book. And by the way, I've never ran a D&D campaign before. So
right. Well, and the other thing is that, you know, Max and I have talked about it offline, and we talk about it on the podcast where we really do a lot of the spitballing. But the point of it's going to be how much of the other things, because most people can run a hack and slash, no big deal, but there will be hacking in this. There will be hacking, because it's me and Max, and we both love hacking. Now, will there be a bunch of, you know, the other, you know, propaganda stuff? Not really. So they don't have to worry about that so much. But this will be kind of like I want to say it's going to be about 60-40 hack and slash and then hacking. So there will be, again, the players, they'll be explaining this when they play. You can ignore the hacking altogether and still get the missions done, but it's going to make it way harder, a lot harder.
Very nice. I know I'm looking forward to rolling dice.
yeah, I think
game.
I think it'll be cool.
Yeah, we're gonna. What everybody will have to. Everybody has to come when they do it. We're not gonna do it on camera. Everybody's gonna be on the honor system when they roll up their characters. If we're gonna know if you cheat. I mean, we're gonna know if you cheated. Like it's gonna be kind of obvious if all of a sudden your character makes complete sense. I think, Max, we decided we're going with the standard rule deviation, which is the 6 life points you get at the start.
Yeah.
So you do get 6 life points to spend, or you can roll it. And so that's not totally crazy. We're going to go. The first episode will be actually pretty long because you have to finish your character off. And then I'm going to let people, after we roll it up, spend a couple of days picking their skill points, and then they're going to submit everything on the Discord page. They're going to put up their character sheets so that everybody, if you want to follow along, can see what the character sheets look like. And that'll be a player responsibility. That's how we know your character is ready to rock and roll. They also will get their gear through me and Max. So that I'm not going to spend time in a game unless they want to, or they have questions. We can handle that over during the week. Like, I'm a big fan of doing maintenance off game. So when you show up to play the game, it's just the game and not, well, let's talk about a mine for 45. Like, I just would rather not do that.
Yeah, that makes sense. And like you said, I think because that would be probably quite tedious too, you know, to have everybody do all those. So do you already have your players? Do you know who all's in?
So I put it on the Discord channel that the game will be starting. We've had a lot of people sign up for the game, but now this is where you find out if people are really going to play, right? Because I'm guilty of this. I think everybody at some point in their life is guilty of saying, yeah, I want to play the game. And then the date comes and you're like, oh, I'm just too busy for this and I can't do it. The game will start on the 16th. It's 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. We're looking for 4 people. I just posted it, and so we'll see. Matter of fact, I'll put it on the Facebook page right now. So if you're listening to this, you'll have already seen the post come out right now.
You're letting people behind the scene.
Yeah.
They'll know we don't release this the day we record.
Yeah.
You do not
turns
know.
Out, it turns out we recorded this in March.
What's going on? What day is this? When
Let me
did
tell
this
you,
released?
You look behind the curtain here, and it's like, 4 of us kicking back in chairs with a beer. It's not really that exciting behind the curtain.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, if you want to look behind the curtains, it's exactly what you think it is.
A starved guinea pig.
Come on, man. I look better than that.
Oh, shit. Hey, Randy, you said something about the Facebook page, which made me think of... did you guys see what Michael Say posted with respect to the mind dispenser? I mean, because
Oh yeah.
that guy, he may be onto something.
No, I didn't. I don't. Well, I might have seen it, but I don't know what you're referring to right now.
So Michael Say is one of our 3 listeners, right?
Okay,
And he posted
the mind dispenser. Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah,
It was
mind dispenser of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, I saw that, and I did see that. That was funny. That was actually pretty funny.
That was pretty good.
It does make you wonder what CB envisioned in their minds, like when they did it. So I'm like, if that's what they really thought, because I mean, you think about it, the mind dispenser does shoot a mine out of it. So maybe that's where
That's where they got
Gutierrez was like playing as a kid,
yeah.
had his Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and he still remembers that, starts to relive some of the childhood, youthfulness.
That's like the picture of the rare unseen footage of Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau writing the next episode of Mandalorian, and it's 2 kids with all the Star Wars toys.
Oh yeah,
right.
That's pretty fun too.
Because Ryan, I think you actually hit on something. Is the things that we played with as children, the things that we had as toys, possibly things that Santa brought to us as little boys and little girls, had a dramatic effect on how we see things, how we envision these role-playing events or these game events actually transpiring. The crazy koala, just wants to give hugs and explode. Where did that come from? How did that evolve from, I've got this idea, run it by a game master, dungeon master sort of thing, to being incorporated into this game? I think that evolution is something that is really unique and interesting.
Yeah, or like playing tabletop miniature war games is a legit outgrowth of playing Star Wars and GI Joe with those figures. Like it was wanting, as I got older and more rational, a more codified way to recreate those battles.
Yeah, no, I wholeheartedly agree with that. And miniature wargaming has been going on for ever, it seems like, because you've got Napoleonics, you've got historicals, you've got all these things, all these different genres that have game systems behind them. And it makes you wonder how the rules have evolved, and the people that had input on a young Gutierrez or a young Gary Gygax, for that matter.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that if you're doing miniature gaming, right, there's a creative outlet piece to that too, right? So I think all of that's your upbringing and influences, and I'm trying to think about I think everyone, no matter what their outlet is or what their escapism is all based on your historical events, right? Some of us went down the sci-fi fantasy road. Some people go down the historical road. Some people macrame, right? And all that just probably bases somewhere of needing some type of outlet that's not your, normal day to day.
So in your normal day to day, Ryan and Max and Randy, in your normal day to day, when you see something, do you see something that is completely, just ambiguous, right, to the normal populace? Do you look at something in the course of your day-to-day actions and go, oh, I could totally see that as something being on the game table, something being on my paint table, something that I could use?
Oh yeah. Like it's inspiration for something, or it's certainly like seeing stuff in entertainment, and then wanting to translate that somehow back to a game somehow. Absolutely. But then like just seeing a cool color scheme on a car or something, and it's like, oh, I'm going to paint my tag like that.
So, in my previous life of employment,
You were a scientist?
no, before I was a scientist, but only like 2 months before I was a scientist, really. So yeah, I drove all around the city visiting car dealerships, doing stuff like that, and I would go into parts of towns that aren't great, and I would see really cool buildings, and then like there's even for those of you in the Kansas City area, southwest of 435 and 70, there's an old industrial area that's still functioning, but mostly defunct right now. And I've literally driven through that 100 times and been like, all right, so how can I make those buildings, make them functional? Because it would be cool. Like I envision like that scene as a miniature board, like all the time.
Miniature board just for Infinity or miniature board just in general?
Well, mostly Infinity now, because that's just kind of where I'm thinking miniature-wise. But I mean, I do it like when we're at the Lake of the Ozarks on the boat, I'm looking around and I, figuring that's kind of where my wilderness table kind of sparked from, trying to figure out how to do some of that. And just trying to think of different terrain situations. I will say sometimes when I'm driving and I see a big open field, I'm like, well, that would be a shitty terrain. I mean, snipers would just destroy people in that field, and like you just have those like inner dialogues a lot. So, yep. So there you go. A little peek behind the curtain there.
Yeah. Someone put that hamster out of its misery.
Yeah, it's off the wheel, man.
Well, so now that you've got me down this rabbit hole, and I blame Randy on this.
Why? How do I get blamed for
it? Because you know why.
Okay.
So the movie Hobbs and Shaw.
Yeah.
For those familiar. So when they go in towards the end of the big final battle, they go into the place where they build all of their Gaslands cars to use for this, and that's a big industrial thing. And I've literally taken that picture and like put it on my phone. I'm like, I'm making this table because it's like this big rusted out factory, and like because part of me wants some bigger buildings on Infinity that have interior, so you have this bigger mix. So you have this. Most things we see now are 8x8-esque buildings, right? And you see they're scattered all over, 2, maybe 3-story high, but I kind of want some bigger footprint buildings. My interior table, my Mount Weather interior table has a couple of them. They're open right now, but I kind of want some of these bigger buildings so people are outside. There are some sniper lanes, but then people can get in these buildings and you can have a gunfight inside. They kind of mix up some of that. So it's not like, well, there's not a long range, but so I'm going to get my dudes with shotguns in that building and they're going to hold that building. And I want it to be a little bit bigger than the 8x8. So I don't know. That's just trying to think of different ways to set up different tables and getting real life ideas and inspiration.
I that's a good idea. I think, I mean, I really like that. Yeah, I can see that, bro.
So slightly topic adjacent, it just Ryan made me think of this. I would like to see more Infinity tables that use non-city terrain, like especially because we have units with various terrain stuff. Everything is a buildings and a city and all this stuff. Having more forest terrain and stuff like that would be very cool.
Yeah, like literally, that's what inspired me to make the dumpsters for my my city board, is because I got tired of seeing crates everywhere. Like, if I'm telling you now, invest in shipping containers. If Infinity is any like prediction of the future, shipping containers is where the money is, man. They are everywhere. So that's why I built like I have some dumpsters. I have some planters that are big, so I wouldn't have shipping containers in the middle of my city. And then I got the same thing, like same idea as you, Max, is I was like, I don't want 4 city tables. So I got rid of my other tables that were city based. So I have 1 city right now. I have my wilderness one, which is exactly what you're talking about. It's got mountains and forests, and there's a river even in there. And then I have, because it has, I had to have an 8x8 room in there. I basically made the entrance to Mount Weather. So it's basically this rock, and it's got like these metal doors on each side. So it's like, you can tell it's the entrance to the underground. So I made an interior table that is, so the woods table is my Mount Weather table. For those of you who don't know, look it up. Then the the interior below that, I was like the interior Mount Weather, and it's basically just a bunch of L shapes pieces of foam core that are like 6 inches high, and a couple that are like square rooms, and it all lays out, and you can move it around, so it's still modular, but it's all like interior hallways and whatnot. And that was literally because I'm like, I want to figure out what else I can do. I have a couple other ideas. I have a shipping yard one with that tabletop combat.
Yeah, that's something I thought about too. Yeah, that would be really cool. And I mean, all your shipping containers have a home then.
Yeah, exactly. That's really funny because that's literally they go into that box of that crate. Like I have 4 of those boats, and they are all put together. And
we kind of, Ryan and I both kind of went hog wild on that stuff when Brexit hit, and we could get a good deal on shipping.
Yeah. So you, Rob, Phil, and I all went in, and I made the order, and it came, and it was this F off big box of.
How many pounds of MDF was it? I mean, literal weight pounds, not money pounds.
I remember it was a lot. I ordered like $700 worth of stuff, and it all came to me, and I literally just stacked them up, and I like took a picture. I'm like, here's Max's stack, here's Rob's stack, here's Phil's stack, here's my stack. But then the other idea I have is, so I have some stuff that was I cannot think of the name of the game right now, or the company right now, but it's all interior stuff that's modular. And
Black
that
Arc
I'm gonna,
or Black
Site?
It's
Black. Yep, it was that Black Arc, I think is what it, or Black. Yeah, I don't remember, one of those. That's really cool stuff. And I'm working on making it, and it's basically going to be it was inspired by Mandalorian, so I'm actually making like the outsides of it like dirt and rusted out and
nice,
rocky croppings. And so that basically it will be a mix of that indoor outdoor stuff, but a lot of it is exactly that, Max. I'm trying to think of like, what other types of tables can we have besides cities?
Yeah.
And make them work, right? That's the other key.
Yeah, because for me, I look at Rogue One, right? And when they are on Scarif, and it's beaches and palm trees and all sorts of just aquatic terrain, I'm just like, oh yeah, that would be cool.
Right, like so much of like Paradiso is a major place in terms of where Infinity fighting should be happening with Combined Army and all this stuff. And I mean, I want to recreate that more. I like you Scarif, and I'm like, that could totally be beach fighting on Paradiso.
Yeah, and I think as we see more sci-fi shows come to the forefront, I think we will see an increase in other types of terrain, right? Because I've got Matt from Fantasy Flight Games, I think is who it is, or Frontline Gaming, one of the two. And it's a Mars base. So it's got like this black tarmac, and it's got red sand. And when you look at The Last Jedi or The Force Awakens or one of the last 3 trilogies, when they're fighting on that salt planet with the crystal foxes and all that jazz, that was a sci-fi theme that did not resonate from an Earth, right? It didn't resonate with a temporal sort of climate. It was a desert. It was salty. It was red. It was kind of colorful. And I think that's one of the things that I would like to see in the future.
Yeah, I mean,
that would be cool.
Yeah, and I think that, was it 2 years ago maybe, and I was talking to you, Rob and Randy, when we were on our trip to New Mexico to visit my stepson, and I was like, there's a lot of desert here that could make some really cool stuff. And then you just put like some, you can build some like trailers. And I think my idea was if you watch the beginning of, what was the last X-Men that had it? And I don't remember if it was the Logan movie. I think it was Logan. Yeah, where he's got Professor X and they're in that abandoned gas station bunker area. Like that could be your center of your table, and you can make some barbed wire fencing, and then basically make some signage, right? That would be your blocking, and you're just going to tag it to that. So then you make a 6 inches of barbed wire fencing, and then you have some metal grate signs on there, and then that's all modular. You make a bunch of that, so you kind of loop it around, and you make a couple buildings in the middle, and it would almost be a Wastelands Fallout type of looking table. But just the mixing it up from the clean, we're fighting in the middle of a very popular city, or whatever, although there are no pedestrians on the street and no cars on the street, but all these buildings are pristine, and this is just where the action's happening.
Yeah, because I see that there's a lot of exoplanets that would be very rustic with a sci-fi edge to them. I see that, the Outer Rim sort of planets, talking about the Mandalorian, the episode where, he gets Boba Fett's armor, the very first or second episodes of this current season, he has to go out to the Badlands where it's all, it reminded me of so many Westerns where it was after the Civil War, the strangers coming into town, and the town itself is really run down. And I saw that with the power converters and the condensers having super rust. And I thought that was very interesting, considering that Tatooine is a desert planet.
You mean interesting is that they were so rusted, or that they just went that way with it?
Both. That it was so rusted because it is a desert planet, and that they went that way because
Bob's got a science.
Well, got a science. But it also, it struck that chord because they did just have a galactic civil war. You've got, all these things. There's, corruption and, mining guilds and business interests that are doing these, horrible things in the Outer Rim. And that's kind of speaking to the, bringing it full circle to when we first started. Max was talking about the submundo element on Paradiso. And you're going to have that exact thing. And so I would love to see more varied tables from the sci-fi.
I mean, I think your only real holdup, right, is manufacturers, right? Most manufacturing companies are building buildings because they're easy. So really, if you want to do some of these more crazier things, you've got to get a little more creative in how you build it. So there's a lot more goes into that. You're not just putting together an MDF building and then priming it a couple colors and you're calling it done. You've got to, you're getting out the hot knife and your foam and you're gluing stuff and you're cutting and you're sanding and you're doing all of that. So I mean, there's just more effort that goes into that. And I think a lot of people just don't, they have the time to do their models, maybe, but they don't have time to do a table also.
No, that's a very good point, because I'm looking at one of my tables that has a massive amount of 3D printed terrain on it that is just insane.
Well, I think then so that's the other aspect, right? You've been churning out 3D printed stuff forever. So, I mean, you're just creating more and more of a backlog for yourself. And then, at some point, at what point does it become undaunting? How do you eat an elephant? You just got to start one bite at a time.
That is very true.
But at some point, you're just kind of like, I've got to stop printing stuff because I need to get the stuff I have printed out. I think we lost Randy. I think he's dead. I haven't heard him for a while.
I'm right here. I'm sitting right here listening to you douchebags.
Yeah. He just put the PFP RPG will start January 16th at 7 p.m.
Feeling the Christmas love here.
See? I do things the right way.
Do you?
The Randy way is the right way.
The Randy way is this is the way.
This is the
This
way.
is the way.
By the way, I have so many like different chat groups, and like every one of them uses that at some point. And
Yeah, I think
it makes me laugh.
I think at this point you have to use it. I mean, I just want to say this because the spoiler ban has been lifted. I don't know if that was one of the best things I've seen of 2020, the end of the second season of The Mandalorian, but it's definitely going to be top 5 at some point. If I had to really think about it, that would have been like top 5.
Top 3, I'd have to say for me.
You're talking about the ending of the show or the end credits piece?
Both.
Yes.
like the whole thing, because the revelation. You know what? I don't give a shit. If you haven't seen it by now, you're something is wrong with your life by the time this gets recorded. When they showed Luke at the end of Mandalorian season 2, I was like, I remember texting Rob, and me and you were texting, and I was like, no way. I go, that's got to be him. And my wife was sitting there, and she's like, how do you know? Are you sure? And I'm like, look at the hand. Look at his hand. Look at his hand. And then Rob was like, just stay through the credits. I'm like, all right. So I did. And when they did that whole little scene, I was like, no fucking way they're going to do this. Yep. Little kid me was very happy.
Yeah, like Luke showing up just fucking blew my mind. Like the last time I was that happy with the Star Wars thing was the end of Rogue One when Vader is tearing through all those rebels. It was exactly what you wanted to see from a Jedi, or a Force user in that period of Star Wars history.
I read a piece, and I don't know how true it is because obviously the internet, but they said that was supposed to be an homage to Rogue One and Vader going through.
If I've seen stills and like GIFs side by side, and there it's definitely recreating that, but with Luke against the droids. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it was super cool.
Yeah, and to me though, I put those as two different. Like the end of the series was really cool, and then the after credits was like, whoa! So like to me, those were like two like really cool moments, not just like that's the end. Like so, you guys seem like you're lumping them together as one cool event, and I'm like, those are two cool events to me.
Yeah, and I literally found it by accident. I was watching it the day that it came out, and as soon as the credits started rolling, I got up and left it just rolling and started doing other things. And then I heard something that was not credit music anymore. So I came back into the nerd layer, and I was like, oh my God. So I backed it up like 10 seconds. And Randy, that's when you were like, oh my God, is it who I think it is? Is it who I think it is? And I was like, just keep watching. For the love of God, just keep watching.
Yeah, no, I thought it was excellent. The Mandalorian might just save 2020. It might be the redeeming quality of it. I'm trying to think if anything else that redeems 2020, but I think that's it right now.
I mean, it's a good winter to be a sci-fi nerd, right? Because you've got the Mandalorian, the Expanse just started their new season.
That's so good.
Yep, I'm like on episode 3. So, yep. So I mean, it's good days.
Yeah, and the Expanse,
I mean, pandemic aside.
Yes, pandemic aside. And the Expanse, that's one that drops on Wednesdays. So that was a complete mind screw. Because I was like, oh, 3 episodes on a Friday. This is amazing. And then the next Friday came, and I was like, hey, where's my hit? Come on. Oh, no, it's Wednesdays. Oh, I'm an idiot.
Yeah, it's a good time to be from a media content perspective, it's a good time to be a sci-fi fan.
Yeah, no, I think so too. I'm excited, and I was even more excited when they said that the Book of Boba is going to be its own show. However, I did read today that it's a 4-episode miniseries. Or limited series, I should say.
I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I could be too.
Yeah, because a limited series that is going to be part of the canon that is going to also affect the events of other shows. Yeah, give me that catalyst. Give me that go-go juice.
Although we've had discussions here at our household so they're like, is the Mandalorian done then? Like, where do you go now? I mean, you've taken away the biggest story arc.
Oh, the Darksaber War. That's where the Mandalorian, I think, is really going to shine, because you got Bo-Katan, who was gifted the Darksaber by Sabine Wren, and then the Mandalorian Din, Grogu's stepdad, whatever you want to call it, won the Darksaber in a combat. So the Darksaber War and the reunification of Mandalore is something that the Mandalorian can take on now. And yes, it just showed my entire nerd hand right then, right there. And stunned silence.
Oh, we knew it was there.
Yeah, it was holy.
Yeah, but now the world fucking knows. Oops.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I think they knew. I know. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think you've been hiding it very well. That's really what I mean.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was in a thread in like one of my one of the Facebook groups I'm in, and there was a thing about if it wasn't the epitome of like why people hate nerds, I was like I read it, and you're reading the thread, and it was like 100 and something comments in, and it started with it was about the Mandalorian, and this is seriously where things get toxic, right? And how did it start? It started with somebody saying the Mandalorian cleared everything up. Boba is a Mandalorian. Now it's canon. And another guy was like, no, it's not canon. It now it is now, but before they said, and it's like one of these things of they went through this whole thing, and this guy kept saying, well, in the EU, it's canon, and that's all that matters for fans. And the guy's like, well, that's not canon. That's what you want it to be, but that doesn't. And it was 100 and something threads of 4 guys saying the same couple of things over and over again. And finally, a guy who works on the show popped in and was like, yeah, it's not canon, bro. Until we just said it was. Like, we just made it canon. Like, this is how it becomes canon. We did it. And everybody was like, oh, okay, we're done. And that was the end of the argument. And then the argument started with more of a what were they talking about? Just how they almost like this guy was wrong, and it was everything that's wrong with hobbies and fandoms all in one subthread. It was amazing. I loved it.
Very nice.
And did you get on there and throw some salt around, or?
No. I don't listen. I understand where my nerd starts and stops. Like, my nerddom starts with, I like Star Wars. It stops when anybody says the EU or starts talking about a unnamed character on Tatooine, and somebody goes on about their history. Yeah, okay, cool. Like, I'm the nerdiest, the weirdest nerdy crap that I know is I actually read the Godfather book. So when I watch The Godfather, part 1 and 2, I can get a little nerdy with that, but that's about it.
I didn't even know there was a Godfather book.
Yeah, I didn't
put that out there.
The Godfather is
Yeah.
based off of a book.
And the guy that wrote the book wrote the movie, which why it's Mario Puzo's Godfather.
Godfather. Yeah. Like in the Godfather, the godson, the actor. There's actually chapters about his life in Hollywood. The assassin in the end, when he's at church, Michael's at church in Godfather 1, and they do all the hits on the members of the 5 families.
Okay.
And do you remember the scene where there's the hitman, he's dressed as the cop?
Yes.
There's like a chapter in the book about that guy.
About the cop?
About that guy, yeah, the guy that kills, who he's not really a cop, he's a mobster, but he used to be a cop, and he was like a really hardcore good cop, and he hated guys that hit people, people that hit women and all this stuff. He hated it, and he went too far on a suspect, and he went down a different path. And then he was basically what he's supposed to be is so the Godfather had Luca Brasi. Was it Luca Brasi? I don't know, whatever. He had him, and he was his hitman, his just a total wacko that he would kill anybody, but he was super loyal to the Godfather. That cop is the same iteration for Michael Corleone.
Wow.
Yeah, in the book, that's how it works. You
Couldn't resist.
You are a bastard. If that's what happens to our listeners when I say these things. Oh my God.
That's why we only have 3.
Yeah, Jesus. This is why we only have 3. They're like, people
had
shut
more,
off.
We
right
had
there.
more, but they're still listening to the first episode and they're still asleep.
They're still trying to get through the first episode. No wonder we're getting so many listens on the first one. It's the same 3 people hitting play over and over again.
And they're like, I'm going to get through it. I'm going to get through it.
Sorry, we went down the rabbit hole of the one thing I know that I'm nerdy on. That's some Harry Potter stuff, but that's
Well, yet again, Randy goes down another rabbit hole.
I do that. I will have to fight everything inside of me not to do it in the RPG. Max will keep me on and keep me going.
I'll try.
Max is gonna have to make sure that he's got a full charge battery for the video blackmail that's going to be going on.
Right. Need a virtual cattle. I need a virtual cattle prod.
They make them, but they're not cattle prods.
Okay, kids, I'm about to explain to you in graphic detail what Ryan was just implying there. So, parents, put on your earmuffs.
As Uncle Max explains.
Yeah. All right. So what's next? Our next topic.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't get that far. I have no idea what we're even going to talk about for the rest of the show. I know that we did the Christmas wish list. That was supposed to be basically the show, and we covered that in 10 minutes.
Yeah, I'm planning a 2-hour show. We don't know what we're going to.
Yeah, when you plan a 2-hour show the day before you decide to record, and don't do an outline or anything, and just say, "Hey, we're going to do this."
It's fine. It's fine.
It's fine.
So we talked about infinity wish lists. What is your guys' hobby wish list? Do you have any tools, paints, stuff to help with the art and craft of assembling and painting and getting your minis ready to the table that you'd want?
Oh, so not that I want. Right now, I think I've got the stuff, but I backed Scale Colors Instacolor, which is basically their equivalent of a contrast paint, heavy body wash type of material, and I haven't used it yet. So my wish list, I guess, will be to get some models primed and play with that stuff, and just kind of experiment and add another tool to my arsenal of painting.
I'm interested to hear what you have to say about those, Ryan, because I've used 2 of them so far, and my opinion is mixed.
Is it mixed because, so you have to factor in a couple of things. Did you use the same type of color? So did you use 2 reds, or did you use 2 different colors?
I used 2 different colors with that specific in mind.
Yeah. So did you like one and not like the other?
Yes.
Yeah, it's gonna be that way. I mean, it's just like any other paint. It's literally because pigment. It's how you make pigments. They're never gonna. If you use the GW contrast ones, they did not all behave the same, and that's just literally the science of the pigments. And you're never gonna get that's why you'll see a lot of miniature painters. For those of you who don't know, who have 20 different lines of paint, because they'll like the black from one, they'll like the blues from another one, and they'll do all that. And it's literally just because how you make if it's a pigment based paint, if it's a gel medium, if it's a whatever the carrier is, they all function differently.
And whatever that binder is.
Yeah. So I was kind of it didn't surprise me much, but I would imagine because of the nature of what those types of have, because I mean, literally, so for those who don't know, it's technically heavy bodied wash. That's really all it is, right? So or ink, really, kind of depending. It's using a heavier pigment and a different medium that's making it flow into the crevices, but it's no different really than inks and washes, and just how they're utilized. They're just GW tagged the contrast colors, but I mean, that's just their name. It's really a heavy bodied wash. I would imagine if you would compare the reds from the different brands, I would imagine they would all function relatively the same, because I think most of them, in my looking, are using the same type of medium to get them to flow. Your pigment source is going to be virtually identical. Size is going to be the difference, really, probably, on how fine the pigment is. But I mean, your cadmium red only comes from one thing. You're not going to get cadmium red from 12 different things to make up. This is my version of cadmium red, right? It doesn't work that way. So with that being said, I do have some contrast colors that I'm probably going to get rid of, since I have that whole instant color line.
Yeah, I backed that Kickstarter as well, and so I too have been playing around with those. I just want more time to experiment. Another thing that I want more time just for hobby in general, the nice weather. I've been tasked with creating a desk for the wife, so I haven't been able to enjoy the nice Kansas City weather to get more spray painting with rattle cans. But
for terrain, you mean?
Yeah, for terrain.
Yeah,
because I do have a nice little backlog of 3D printed terrain, like I said.
Yeah, just do that in the basement, man. You just spray and pray. That's what I do.
I don't think it works the same.
Yeah, FYI, people, don't do that. I've been ingesting paint fumes for long enough that it probably doesn't matter.
It shows.
So, at this point, stopping now is not going to save me.
Yeah, and talking about fumes, I did a stain conditioner on the maple wood that I've got for Julie's desk, and I can smell it in my nerd layer from the garage upstairs. So,
stains. Those suckers can really kick out some good stuff.
Yeah, so rattle can in a basement, don't do that, kids. Don't try that at home.
I've done a lot of that.
I think all four of us probably have.
Well, I went, going to school for painting, right? I mean, they in that building, man, there were so many toxins cruising around in there, and I was there for 6 years. So I ingested more than my lifetime supply.
Oh shit. So Max, what about you? What about hobby stuff for you?
Mine is maybe a few months past Christmas, but as you guys may know, listeners have no freaking idea because they don't care about my personal life, but we've been staying with my mom through all of this. Colleen and my wife, had an apartment and our lease was up. So October last year, we were like, we'll stay 6 months with my mom. We're going to pay her mortgage. It was cheaper than our rent, and we'll look for a house in the spring. Well, COVID hit. So I don't even have any hobby space at all. So like my Christmas wish list is really a house with some hobby space. Like I am super jealous of Bob's a hobby room area, like your place to airbrush with vents and the paint racks and the walls and stuff. Like I have like a tiny little desk I'm working at right now, and I pull paints out as I need them, and then they go back in a box.
Back in a box for you.
So yeah, I am dying to get just a area I can make my hobby area.
Hey, I got a question for you, Max. A personal nature that of me also being a bad friend, but I was just thinking about the other day. Did you and Colleen get married?
Yes, we did.
Because that's why I was like, I don't know if I ever knew that they got married.
So we were going to do something very small this fall. She's from Massachusetts. Her parents are just outside Boston, and it was like, well, this is a bad idea to have them fly out here. They're older. Her dad has serious heart issues. Not a person who should be traveling during the pandemic. So we put the kibosh on that and just did the paperwork and did the legal aspect of getting married. So we had all those benefits that go with being spouses. She is a pharmacist, is continuing to work with the general populace at this time. And I think as we know, some area, like she's a floater, so she's all over the place. Works up to an hour away from Kansas City. Not everybody is great with how they handle the pandemic. And so her risk of exposure is pretty high compared to some people. So, if there was an issue, we wanted to be able to speak for each other legally.
So is this recent then? So
no, it occurred back in August.
Okay.
We just haven't really made a deal about it. You know.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
But yeah, it's something. I saw a picture of you two, and I was like, I think she's got a ring on. And then some comment was made. I'm like, wait, did Max get married?
Yeah, it's the same ring I proposed with. So we didn't change anything like that. But like, and saving for a house, we thought we would already be in a house and not worried about that stuff. So now we're like, well, we're going to make a bigger down payment and not have to worry about PMI. And so we haven't bothered with rings or any of that kind of stuff at the moment. But yep, it happened.
All right. Well, I hope I just didn't out you on the cast, and now people are like, "What?" But
no. I mean, people know. I just don't talk to you.
Well,
that
obviously,
often,
I
thanks
didn't,
to
so...
COVID. So for the longest time, I haven't even been able to play Infinity on the club night up at our local shop, Tabletop, and because I worked in a clinic, and the doctor I had on Wednesdays could not run on time. And so by the time I would be done and out of there and at Tabletop, people were about ready to head out for the day and be done with their games. So like I switched jobs at the end of April. I can game on Wednesdays now, man, but I can't game on Wednesdays now because of COVID.
Yeah.
So I would have seen all you guys, significantly more and talked to you a lot more. So
stupid COVID,
but not a big secret. Just not. I mean, we didn't feel like it was anything to make a big deal out of. So,
well, congratulations, late.
Oh, thank you.
Also, for those of you who don't know, Max and I also have a connection, and I haven't talked to you about this yet, Max. And since we're just randomly chatting, what'd you think of the AC/DC album?
It's not bad, man. I feel like. God, I was listening to it when it came out, and I was thinking about, I was like, I need to message Ryan. I was reminded of some older stuff by it. Of course, that probably sounds ridiculous because how many people think that all their albums sound the same? But, I don't know. For me, it sounded like something maybe from back in the 80s, perhaps. And I'm wondering if some of this is material that was written previously and then not used. I mean, I really haven't looked into the creation of this album.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I thought it was.
I hate to say this, like I love the band. I checked out some especially after Malcolm died. Like I felt like more than anything, he seemed to be kind of the driving force, perhaps, in that band. It felt like more as his band than anyone else's. But it sounds good. I like it.
Yeah. And so another little history tip for you. So the last concert that they played when Brian Johnson was singing, and apparently he's back now, which is good. But there was the last concert they played before he had to take his hiatus for health was here in Kansas City, and Max and I were there.
Oh, I didn't even realize that was the last one for
that was his last concert. So which I will tell you, part of me was kind of like, I hope they don't come back because that's kind of cool. That's like we saw the last time.
Like I did not care about for Axl Rose being at the front of that. That was such a bad choice. I don't even understand it. But
yeah, I don't either.
So that's our second time. Yeah, that's the second time Ryan and I have seen AC/DC together.
Yep. Yeah. So I really liked it. And I thought there was a lot of really good bluesy vibes on a lot of their songs. But I will tell you, like there was one of our coworkers that I was talking to about it too. But I was like, there's some lines there's a line in there that's like, my mission is to hit ignition, right? I mean, you couldn't get that's like a classic AC/DC right there,
right?
And then I think you're right. There are definitely some throwbacks to some like the classic AC/DC stuff, the Back in Black era, even probably hints before that. But but I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I think Demon Fire, that's a great name for a song. I don't
Yeah.
care who you are. That's just a great name for a song.
Yeah, I thought it just had an older feel to it. So, which is good.
Yep. I'd agree with it. So, all right, we can go back now to Infinity.
Well, we're on the hobby stuff for holidays. So, Randy, what are you looking forward to for hobby? Anything?
Wow. So obviously I'm not. I don't look forward to it at all. I don't care about it at all. I like looking at the pretty pictures. I do have to paint a mini for our fantasy football league because the winner gets an army and everybody has to do a model. This is on them. They fucked up by making this a thing because now I will add a model into this person's army, and yeah, it's just not going to be good. Not going to be good.
Yeah.
What figure? Like what army is it? Is it Infinity? Is it?
Yeah, it's Infinity. I don't remember what we're doing. I don't even remember the model I have to paint. I was tagged in our chat, and I was like, "Yeah, I'll do pick a model. I'll paint it." Yay. And I gave them the disclaimer, like, "Are you sure you want me doing this? I would rather just pay money, but whatever."
You mean a Randy original is not like a sought after collector's item?
Well, no, because it's because so the thing is, it's like we started this fantasy football league years ago. So Grant started it, and like Tipsword's in it. It's me, the Mayacast guys are in it, and so we're all playing, and most of those guys paint really well, but yeah, it's whatever.
Is that done already?
What?
That fantasy football league?
Well, for the season, I mean, we play in it every year. Same guys.
I didn't know. Well, I didn't know you've wrapped it up already.
Yeah, typically a fantasy league ends just before the regular season.
No. I'm not. I am done with the league. Okay, like this season, I am sunk. Like I am done.
Are you DFL?
Yeah, I'm dead on arrival, bro, on this thing. The championship games and stuff, the playoffs are starting, but I am out.
Okay.
Admittedly, like I didn't show up to the draft this year. Like I missed the draft. I can't remember what I was doing. I think I had school stuff going on, and I was just like, man, I don't know. And then I debated dropping out, and I didn't. And then we didn't even know if we were going to do the league because of COVID. So, but it ended up going on. It's not a big deal. This is my one hobby thing that I'm going to have to do. So we'll see. I mean, they literally might get, like, I might paint this bitch like white on the bottom, and the middle it might be all like blue, and the top might be just red. 3 colors. Whoop, whoop.
Oh, really going all out there, aren't you?
Yeah.
Hey, listen to me. Listen to me.
Effort.
I'm the captain now.
Wow.
Yeah. So, Rob, have you done hobby stuff? Have we talked about that? I totally forgot who's gone and who hasn't now.
Yeah, hobby stuff. I kind of worked in on your segue of the instant colors. So I think for this episode, I will go ahead and take a video of my nerd lair, so that way the listeners at home can see what destruction the nerd lair actually is.
Can bask in the glory of your nerd lair,
or just be like, "Oh my god."
No, come on, let's all face it. You've seen Rob's nerd lair. It's epic. It's great. It's bigger than anything I've ever seen. That's right. You heard me say that.
It's a man-child cave.
It's a man-child cave. That is very true.
Max, are you doing hobby stuff? Are you doing anything right now? Are you just kind of?
I haven't really been working on any significant projects. Like I've been painting some individual miniatures here and there just to work on, like trying new colors or techniques and stuff. But I just don't really have the space to assemble stuff. And I thought I was going to be here 6 months, so much stuff is packed, like it's in a storage unit. So it's disappointing.
No,
that could be hard.
Yeah. So like RPGs have been great because, man, I can pick up the books and read and all that stuff. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to being able to get us a space of our own. But the flip side is it's been nice. We can be here. We keep my mom from having to go out as much for stuff, and because she is older and has other health issues. So, it's been a good thing, but it just is constraining.
All right. Well, so I'm gonna segue back to earlier, since you sit around and read RPG books, right? So I'm not gonna say you sit around and read, but anyways, that was what you said, is that one of your outlets. So, as we talked about before, like during your daily life, we look at like your real world and make terrain. So when you're reading like this, the fluff of an RPG book, do you like take notes of like, that's a good idea? Or do you just kind of like, do this kind of just embed somewhere? Do you get campaign ideas or character ideas or any of that stuff just from reading through them too?
Yeah. I mean, I'd say it embeds somewhere. I don't necessarily take notes unless I'm actively working on material to run. But like, yeah, you'll be reading stuff, I like Randy and I have been, as we work through like the Ayla fluff, right? We'll be talking about something, and I'm like, this is like, imagine using this as a seed for an adventure with this and whatnot, and that's how stuff will hit me as I'm reading through it. Or like, oh man, it'd be cool to play a character like this, or oh, this career interests me or something. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's funny how those things kind of hit you, and you're like looking at something randomly, and then somebody else says something, and an idea just totally sparks.
All right, so I want to kind of go down this rabbit hole a little bit because so I've never DM'd. I've never DM'd before. I've played in a handful of role-playing games, none that have gone on to the extent that I know that you guys have done. Right, some of it is literally because it became a time issue, right? As I got to where I had the availability or the want to do that, I didn't have the time. So as GMs, right, do you start with, if I'm building an army, I start with like this is my idea for these people, or a table. I'm like, I want to build a wilderness table. So do you start with an overarching, this is the main goal. They are going to be Mission Impossible, and they've got to retrieve the data from the server under the water, right? For the or like, and then if that's the case, is that a season? Like, do you play that for a year, and then if the same campaign continues? Because I know, Max, you were in one with Phil that's been running for years, right? So is there an end goal that you start, or is it just like, well, I'm just gonna play by ear?
It varies. Like, it depends on what the idea is that hits me, so I sometimes will have like an overarching story idea hit me, and then okay, how we'll portion that out, how long, figure out what is this entire campaign and kind of how it takes, and then inevitably players turn left when they should turn right, and you work through that and whatnot. At other times it's we've done sandbox type games where, I kind of have an area I've created. I did this a lot more with like Dungeons and Dragons. Certainly, I feel like a game like Infinity, it definitely can be more story driven, but like, just have your characters, and I have like an area fleshed out, and they just kind of go and make stuff happen. So sometimes it's a combination of both. So it's I don't have a consistent method to that.
Is one relatively easier than the other, or does it just really depend on the idea?
I feel like for me, it's always a lot easier to run games where I have built a story and a world around it, and players still have freedom to go and do stuff. I'm not railroading anybody into anything, but there's enough stuff there that they want to drive it forward as well. A sandbox game is tougher because you have to be very on your toes and adept at improvising stuff and just coming up with stuff on the fly. So you have to have a lot of things in your pocket, I feel like. So those are a lot tougher. And I feel like it is easier in games like Dungeons and Dragons, which traditionally have been less role-playing heavy. They are more of the ROLL as opposed to the ROLE, which I don't have any experience with 5th edition, so I have no idea how it's sitting on that
Same.
spectrum. But like,
Same.
yeah, so those are easier to be more sandbox, I think. Whereas Infinity, like, I really want the NPCs to live and breathe, and that takes more time and creation. Some people are really good at that. Like our friend Phil is fantastic at that. So is our friend Mike Howard. But I am not as adept at that. I like to have time to create those guys.
So there's the people that made Army Builder, the old army creation app for not Army Builder, what is it? Was it Army Builder?
It was Army Builder.
Army
Was it
Builder,
Army Builder?
yeah. Lone Wolf, yeah.
Yeah, Lone
Their
Wolf
GM or campaign
world creation thing.
world creator thing, yeah.
Have
I mean,
you ever
it's a
played
pretty-
with that?
I have not. It is. I mean, I don't know if we want to dive into a review of their business practices. I'm not interested in paying like a yearly licensing fee for something. I use OneNote currently. I know some of the people that have used Evernote. There's similar functionality in there. Like I can hyperlink to other notes within the thing, and I can drop in. I can cut and paste maps I've found or pictures, artwork that represents something into there. So I've got that available, things like that. I find it really easy to use. So that has been my go-to for a while now. Like I am currently working, it's not Infinity related, but I'm working on a Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay campaign that will hopefully start when we can meet in person.
Ooh.
So I've been putting everything in via OneNote. So I keep stuff like that. I think that is a cool looking piece of software that they have made, but I have not played with it, and I can't see myself investing in it.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't looked at it. I remember hearing it when it first came out and looking at it and thinking about picking it up and just playing and creating worlds with it. But that's so it just maybe popped in my head when you're doing that. But so Randy, do you do a lot of? Have you ran a lot of games, or is this going to be the first one you've really ran?
Our boy Rob is a GM also, so don't forget about him.
I'm going by the people on the role playing cast right now that are running it. If I'll get to Rob,
I see.
get to Rob.
I see how it is. Okay,
I've been on the role playing cast.
Yeah, see,
what about you, Ryan?
Yeah,
wow.
I was there because you guys can't keep your minds off of me. So, so anyways, Randy, have you done a lot of that?
Like
running?
So I've run I don't know, maybe like 13 or 14 games, from D&D, Pathfinder, Earth Dawn, Rifts. I mean, it was a long time ago when I did all of those because Earth Dawn doesn't really exist anymore. I heard it was making a comeback at some point and then didn't. I've never run an Infinity game, but like Max said, I'm kind of weird about things because how I think everybody is a product of how they get introduced to an RPG. Tabletop games are, here's the tabletop, this is how we play the game, and generally that's how it works, right? RPGs are a little different because people get introduced in different ways to them. I was introduced in almost pure imagination, the way it runs. There was no map. There was no... we didn't use measurements. We didn't use tiles or hexes or models, anything like that. We didn't use it. And I enjoy it more without any of those things. I remember a couple of years ago, I showed up to a Living City, or I used to play a long time. I used to play Living City, and now they call it Adventure League. And I don't care about the, when they roll the mat out in front of everybody and they'll, put stuff on it to show you where the building is. And honestly, I don't care. You can just tell me there's a building there. And in my mind, it's the horrible thing with when you read a book the first time and then they make a movie out of it. And what you built in your mind was way better than the movie could even come to, right? Because your mind made it just amazing. And nothing will ever come to that, to that apex. So yeah, I that's how I run things. I don't use OneNotes, and like Max said, I am in his. Me and Max usually agree a lot about how RPGs are. I would never pay for or do the licensing deal the way that they have their thing set up. That's so silly to me. RPGs, the appeal of an RPG as a player, not as a creator, but a player, is, generally speaking, it's cheap and it's super fun. It's very low cost entry. As a GM, the cost starts going up exponentially because, if you do like to do what Max does, like you have to get OneNote, you need more of the books, you need more of a lot of things. So it just really depends. I am also very laissez-faire about games. I'm not strict, on rules. I'm more of I want to get us to a point in the story, and I want everybody to have fun going there. I'm more of a yes GM than I am a no GM, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. So so you really don't care for the maps and the models in front of it. You literally just want people, here's your stat sheet and your dice, and you want them to sit at the table.
Right. So like D&D, I get it for D&D, but there are games like Rifts. And Max and I talked about Rifts. I think Cyberpunk would be another one that would be very difficult to do. Like, Max talked about playing the old he plays Cyberpunk now, but Cyberpunk was an RPG. You have these RPGs that if you explain what's going on in the world, how in the hell how is a map and a drawing of is ever going to compare? It's just not. So when you talk about, vibrant colors and you could close your eyes and you can think of what it is, I'd rather people think of the world that they're sitting inside of than looking down at a map going, okay, I'm just going to move my guy here, because I think RPGs are supposed to be immersive. And I think you're supposed to want to be in that world. I feel like the mat and the models and the pens, and I feel like it takes away from the immersion and makes it more like a tabletop game of chess or whatever game you're playing.
So you, okay, I'm going to do some broad stroking here. So for you, when you're playing an RPG, you want people to really be in their mind's eye and really be like engaged in, like, this is the world we're creating, and thinking about that, each of their own, interpretation, right? So if you look at, say, a map and some models on the table, that almost to you becomes more of a board game, right?
It is. Well, to me, it is a board game then,
yeah.
Isn't it? I mean, doesn't it become once you're on a board, doesn't it become a board game? Like, by definition, you're in a board game. I'm not talking about cosplaying and stuff like that, but an RPG, to me, if I explain to you, so okay, for example, the Infinity, the role playing game, we've released one of the voice messages for the RPG. The doctor's talking. He gets into they've landed on the planet, and he does a little spiel about they've made it, whatever. In the game, if you're good enough to hack, you may find more messages from said doctor. There might be more releases in podcasts. Did you hear it or not? The thing is that I can't put that on a board, and so if you're thinking about it the way that Max and I envision it, Rob has said a couple things. If you think of any movie that somebody has done, like a holo projector, or you can think of that in your head, and whatever that environment around you is what you're going to kind of think of. But the second I try to draw it out, I don't know how you equate both of those things in your head at the same time, constantly going back and forth. The appeal to Infinity, the game itself, is that you can actually picture the fights going on. I do this in reaction, I do this, and you could see that scene taking place with those models. You could kind of visualize it the way the game plays itself. But just setting models on a square, 1 inch by 1 inch or half, it's not gonna do it for me personally. It doesn't do it.
Yeah, you can get too into making it a tactical combat game than a role-playing game.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and of course, Max makes it easier. I say it long-winded, and Max just says it the easier.
Yeah. Well, we knew you were long-winded one.
But that's, and some people love that. And Randy and I say a lot, like, you need to discuss as a group what you really want out of your game.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't like that kind of thing, like 4 out of 5 players don't like it and one of them loves it, things may not go great. You know, you got to work through it. So.
But that's the gaming group that I had when I was in high school and on. That's how we cut our teeth in role-playing games. Even when I was in the Army and we played some role-playing, we played D&D, I never played with a map and models. When I did Living City, it was never a map and models.
Yeah, like, I started playing Redbox D&D. And you just drew things out in a piece of sketch paper as your map and pointed out where you were. And
when they used to do graph paper, people used to do the graph paper of the dungeons, and they would do the things, and it was almost like a mini architecture class because you did doors and windows and trap doors, and here's where the treasure chest is. Before you could buy a model.
It's funny. As a little aside, I don't know if Ryan knows Mike Howard, but Rob and I have a friend who's an architect.
Yes, I know Mike Howard.
Okay, I didn't know, man.
And I'm laughing because I know where you're going with this.
Right? Like he draws his stuff, and he can't not architect, and so all the doors open the right way, and like it's up to fire code, and like he can't not do it. It's it's so amusing at times. Like, oh, that door can't go there. There's a wall, and I got
the stairway can't go there.
Yeah, it's so fun. Like, oh, there's got to be a wall here. It's load bearing. It is so funny watching him try and sketch out his quick maps for role playing.
It's kind of funny you say something like somebody bringing their real world life in, because in the Eve Echoes, the game I play, there was a person who was playing it's basically an accountant math game and corporation running simulator, shielded in space combat. But there was a person who literally started doing, like, if I put these skill points here, I'm running these skill points, and figured this out and had these massive spreadsheets on the stuff that it literally killed it. And I'm like, yeah, because you made it not a game. You made it your everyday work. It's the same thing you do at work.
Yep.
So at some point you're kind of like, you got to stop that. This is your turn off that part of your brain, turn on this other part of your brain.
Well, the problem is, I think the problem with everybody is, no matter who you are, I think almost everybody has a hard time shutting their. There was a show that just released on NBC. I think it's NBC. I don't know. I watched one episode of it. It's called Nurses. Have you seen that, Max?
No, but I've seen the ads. I just was like, nope, can't do it.
I watched it, and and I get why you watch the show, right? It's like why people watch Grey's Anatomy and everything else. I think the most realistic medical drama is Scrubs. Believe it or not, to anybody that's ever listening, if you ever watched it's Scrubs, right? And medical people laugh when they do things, and they have like an NG tube is the put in wrong, or they have the IVs wrong. Like those are little things, right, that you notice. But I watched the show Nurses, and it's wrong from like the first 3 seconds to the very end. It makes no sense. And no matter how hard I want to turn off my nurse brain, it's impossible, because you look at it and you're like, I can't get past that part. It's the same thing with military stuff. So when I play, I have to do my best in the Infinity the RPG to shut off my military brain and my combat arms experience, because tactically speaking, when players make mistakes, I want to punish them for the tactical errors, but I know I can't do it. Like, I can't punish you for not proper Israeling a door or clearing properly or doing certain things. So when I watch movies and they do things wonky, I'm always like, oh my God, how did he not just die? But it's that part of my brain. I can enjoy generally the overall aesthetic of the movie, but if something is done horribly wrong, it takes you out of the whole thing.
Yeah, it's hard to ignore that stuff. Like I remember seeing the first episode of The Resident. I don't know if you've seen that.
Oh my God, when he blames anesthesia and cuts the what he nicked the aorta, didn't he, with an appendectomy?
Yeah. I'm like, why are you that deep with the appendectomy? And then, like, the person's in septic shock, like sepsis, dying. Let's get them worked up to be a donor. And it's like, you're not giving those organs. No, I'm sorry. That doesn't have, like, it's called The Resident. It doesn't even know what a resident is.
They never do. They never know what a resident is in any of these shows. It's so amazing. And the joke in the OR for us is always, like, when the resident came out, is I always look at the residents and be like, "Are you as good as that guy on TV, that show?" And they just kind of look at you because none of these residents have any time to watch any TV whatsoever. Right. So you'll explain the TV show, and it's and if you guys have never seen it, it's basically a resident. What is he, the chief resident? I think he's the chief resident.
Yes.
But he knows everything. There isn't a specialty he doesn't know, and I'm like. That's like,
and he's running around practicing independent. There's no attending supervising him. I have no clue. You know what? Like, he can't sign off on any of these orders without an attending to co-sign. It blows my mind.
Well, I think that's the like any person who's functioning as a professional, right, and sees something like on TV or like, that's the first thing they're like, that's not right. That's not right. That's not right. Like, I mean, that's, and the funny thing is, like, there was a huge drive on like movies to call in like professionals, like, hey, can you advise us on those things? But it seems, and I think really what we are seeing in like the things like the movies, the residents for that, I think that's literally just, hey, we're going to do a daytime soap opera and we're just going to have it take place in this hospital. Right.
Well, that's they used to do all of these they had all of these professionals, and they call them like experts or consultants, and they would come in and they would do their things. But so a movie that there's a movie that gets ruined for me every single time, right? Scarface, most people love the movie, right? Until the end. When I get to the end of Scarface, I can't with that movie. When he's just shooting those grenade, the 203. Thank you, Rob. He's shooting those 203 rounds at the door, and then he just keeps doing it. He's never reloading. It's like an unlimited supply of grenades, and then he's just firing a gun. He never changes the clip. Never, not once. I don't know how many shots he did, but by God, wow. Just and I'm just like, what in the hell is going on here? This is crazy.
Yeah. I will say that's one of the things I like about a role-playing game like Infinity. Like, I don't have that level of realism, and some of this, like medicine in Infinity, I mean, it might as well be magic.
Yeah.
Like, I can just totally check that out. Okay, whatever. Silk is whatever, man. It just works. Like, I don't have to worry about it, or like you don't track your ammo in your gun. It's just reloads, because you're assumed to have clips and you're trained with it, and you just fire and change, and you only use loads for special effect kind of things. So
do you think that's too much realism to adding? Okay, you got to keep track of your shots, like in a role play game specifically. Not
I'm not doing that. Yeah, I'm not doing it. I'm not.
Yeah, I ran a 2-year Rogue Trader campaign, and it was you tracked every round on your bolt pistol and stuff, and it could be a little tedious. We never really worried about that in Dungeons and Dragons, like arrows and all that stuff. And I will say Modiphius is very good about across the board with their RPGs that I've looked into. Ammunition isn't something you worry about. Like in Conan, you just have arrows. You assume to have arrows that will last you the encounter. At they're done, you go and collect them. There's enough around that you can keep going. But you had loads of arrows. It's like a reload, because you could spin that to get like an extra damage die and a point of momentum to do, or an extra die on your roll or something. So it allowed you extra effect. But for basic attacking, you just didn't worry about it. Like, because it gets too detailed and fiddly. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever seen Phoenix Command. It's a combat simulator that was created. You could buy it. It was in all your RPG stores in the 80s. You talk about detailed, like granular stats for every gun, hit tables to determine how far the bullet penetrated, etc. I mean, mind-blowingly complex and granular, to the point where it's no fun. You can't run this.
Right. So
that was my thought, Ross. Is like, is at one point does that become, we are not role playing a game, we are bookkeeping a game, right? And so, like, if the idea of your role playing game is you want to idea to me of a role playing game is you're immersing yourself in another character. But if I'm playing that dude and I'm out there and I've got a clip and I'm shooting, I'm gonna know my gun's empty when it stops shooting, right? I'm not gonna be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
I found someone made for Rogue Trader little like spin, like you could print up like 2 layers of paper, and it was a spin wheel that you could just rotate. You put it together with a binder clip kind of thing, and you spun it around, and the notch showed how many rounds you had left in your gun to make it easier for everybody, because it just was it's too much.
Yeah, I'm in the longest game I ever played was 3 or 4 years straight, and that was Rifts. And the way that the GM handled all of our stuff, unless it was a specialty weapon like like I had a guy whose weapons were I used rocket launchers. And he never even put a limit on like how many I had. Like it was basically because like a lot of RPGs, there's weight to everything, and then you should only be able to. So it was assumed that you carried what you could comfortably carry, and we just had to, after every combat, reload. And so it was known that basically everybody refitted themselves with enough to accomplish the mission itself, and that's all you had to do. You just had to spend your money to reload, and then go back out and do it. And then you did the missions and blah, 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 blah. And then you refit it over the week. So much easier than keeping track of every bullet and every magazine. That would be the worst RPG.
Oh, yeah. It'd be bad.
What you could do at that point is then you make it the reverse side. So you're the cops going in. So you have to find every bullet. We're like, okay, well, that's bullet 1. And it went over there into that wall.
Yeah, I don't know if I could ever do that in an RPG.
No.
I think my laid back nature over those type of things would just be like, again, convince me why, because I'm with you, Ryan. At some point when you said like I'm an empty, I think if a player kept going to the same bag of tricks, and I'm like, God, how many did you like? I'm thinking of how many you're using. At some point, I'd be like, you're getting low on that. Okay, you're out of those now. You can't do it again. Like, there's no way to do it again.
Well, that's when you hit him with a gun jam, right? Oh, your gun's jammed.
Yeah. Well, but in D&D and most games, a 1 is a critical failure, and to me, most players pull that 1 as, oh, you're out of ammo. Like that's your 1. That's your whoops. You just ran out of ammo, or you jammed.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I don't know. I was just kind of thinking about that stuff as we were jabbering, so I thought I'd take us down that hole. Fill some time.
Fill some time. Yeah, just fill some time. No big deal.
So, Max, you brought it up earlier about Rob being into the role playing. So, did you guys like talk to Rob? Like, so how did it pick to be Randy, like you and Max doing the role playing game? I mean,
Randy asked me.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have no idea what was happening behind the curtain there.
Randy didn't want to be on another cast with Rob. Is that what it was? Is that what I'm hearing?
No, well, maybe a little bit, but
well, then you're not part of it, and there's jealousy, and it's a very sordid affair.
I mean, I can only take Randy 1 day a week, though. I'm fine with it.
That's that's what she said.
Yeah, Tiffany did tell me that. You're right.
Yeah, because you're recovering for the other 6 days.
No, that's not what she was saying.
The body can only take so much punishment.
She said it takes her that long to get drunk enough.
Wow, 6 days of drinking, progressive drinking to get your
yeah,
perfect. Wow, excellent.
I can do this all day, Randy.
So can I. That's what he said though. That's what I said. No, so we are talking about how the podcast would be revamped. And you are too busy because of work, or at least you were super busy. Rob was doing all the editing, and we were going to initially, when we thought about the shows, was doing an Infinity podcast and then doing like a fluff podcast on the side. And then I don't know how we talked about it, but we thought about doing a role-playing one. And I knew Max was big in role-playing, so I just messaged Max and I was like, hey, we should do this. And Max was like, yeah, we should do this. So thus the personal flash paper role playing thing has taken foot.
Ah, I see. So Rob, how do you feel about this? Are you all right?
I'm good.
A little hurt? Okay.
No, I'm totally good with it, man. Teamwork makes the dream work.
Unlike you, Rob has been asked to come on the show a couple of times because we like him.
Or I don't have to be asking. I'm on
Rob,
their show.
Rob doesn't have a giant ego that needs catering to.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm totally
Yes,
good
he-
with being
yes,
on
he
time
does.
and being one of the last chairs. See, I'm good for the team.
Oh yeah, that's what she said.
I think that's called. No, I'm just gonna stop right there because we may have kids listening in the background.
That's perfect. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's been fun though. I mean, I like that it's different because Max and I try to wrap into the tabletop into a lot of the RPG, but there's so much in the role-playing game world that if you are a tabletop player of the Infinity game, you should get the books for the RPG just because of the fluff factor of Infinity. It's great.
So I had a totally random thought that may or may not ever come to fruition. But you know what would be funny for us to do, say, if it's still going on next year at the Christmas time, is we should actually probably try to figure out how to make a role play game, but base it off of like a Christmas movie. So like National Lampoon's Christmas or something like that, where you try to fit people in and try to make the different elements of the movie like part of the
Home Alone.
scenarios. Yeah,
Home Alone would be
something
that,
like
Home Alone.
that.
Die Hard.
Die Hard. We can do Die Hard. We can do Die Hard. Yeah, we can do.
But
we can do an episode of Die Hard.
I just thought, okay, that would be kind of funny. Just try to do like a Christmas theme, like take on a movie and try to role play, make it this scene of a role play game.
Actually, we should do. 'Twas the Night Before Christmas. Something like that, where there's an intruder landing on the roof of something. Coming in, yeah, or we could do Krampus. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that you could do. Same thing with Thanksgiving, Easter. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Just something to think about. We got a year. Get on it.
1 year to create it. All right then. So, is there anything else?
I'm good. I think that this has been a very cathartic episode, at least for me. I don't know about you guys, but being able to sit back and just shoot the breeze with my bros has been, chicken noodle soup for the soul.
I mean, this is all the weird stuff we would end up talking about had we been able to meet like Wednesday for game night to play Infinity. Yeah. Like we would have had conversations about tons of stuff like this, and it's nice to be able to have a couple hours to sit and do it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's helpful to any of our listeners, but I mean, I think it's good for us.
This is probably our least finished episode.
Yeah, definitely. This is definitely the random. Like we're even the start of the podcast, we were talking about something random, right? And then Max unmuted himself. He's like, "Yeah, I'm here." Blah blah blah. It's almost like you are standing in the game store, and somebody just walks up and joins the conversation halfway through, and it keeps going, and then it just spirals into another conversation and into another. It's a lot of fun. Oh, and Rob, do you want to talk about the raffle?
Yes. Speaking of lots of fun, so I'm going to do a Facebook Live on the 31st of December, New Year's Eve. Because that's pretty much the last day of this year, and I want to squeeze as much of 2020 out and let it just dry out on the floor as possible. Take that however you want. Corvus Belly did send a raffle prize support for our charity event, and I am planning on doing a Facebook Live raffle that night. Get it done, get it over with to raise money for harvesters, and then I will just cut the check to harvesters, and hopefully, people can get some good out of 2020.
Rob, let me dig. So one of the few things I did bring was my Infinity stuff. I have some things I can throw in there too.
Okay, yeah. If you want to throw some of the personal collection of Max Hardenbrook, prize-winning painter, into the raffle, that'd be good.
Not painted stuff, but I've got some. We can throw some Ellie figures in there, and some patches and some other stuff we can put in there.
Yeah, totally.
Cool, thanks, Max. I have to see if I have anything. I don't have anything painted.
Shit.
You don't have shit. I mean, you got a bunch of nomads without bases.
Yeah, I do. I wonder
You
if I
still
bought
haven't
that
gotten any
from.
bases yet?
You haven't told me which one they need.
Gonna go out on a limb and say 25 millimeter.
Well, I need to know how many. I've got bags of them.
You're not getting the Tunguska bases for your nomads?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. My focus has shifted to the RPG to get this campaign up and running. So it's like I have enough time for one thing. I don't have enough time for two things right now. I am working on. I'm trying to. As soon as the country opens back up and we can play games again, I will be. I definitely will be jumping on the modeling train.
Yeah, I think I want to start. I'm gonna have to clean up my basement and get my terrain area back up and functional.
The terrain factory.
Yeah, get the terrain factory back up. Because I did really get I really got a lot of enjoyment out of putting. I really enjoyed painting the models, but for something about completing a table and like being able to move it around and see different setups, it was really pretty cathartic and cool to me. So I might have to do that.
All right. Well, on that note, guys, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you guys.
Merry Christmas to all you guys. And a Happy New Year as well.
Yeah. Merry Christmas, everybody.
And now 2020 can F off and die in a fire.
Yes, exactly. And we'll see you guys on the other side.
Tabletop Game and Hobby. Located at 9156 Metcalf Avenue in Overland Park, Kansas, zip code 66212, has for over 25 years been the Kansas City area's premier game store, specializing in non-electronic games, carrying a massive variety of board games, miniature games, role-play games, classic games, and gaming accessories. Stop by, see what we have to offer, or give us a call at area code 913-962-4263, or visit us online at tabletopgameandhobby.com.
Background music. Flying Species. The Yellow Flying Cog. The use of these human works of music is granted under the current Creative Commons license terms and agreements. From the freemusicarchive.org from the artists as listed. Thank you.